folks are thinking, I am not gonna ride across the frozen pond. There it is, the 2024 TE300. These are my first impressions of the bike. I just picked it up, did a few mods to it already. It's got all the basics you want on it. SXS skid plate, radiator fan. I did the JD tuner. Front discard, rear discard should be showing up today. I shaved the seat. We did the Cycra full wrap handguards, heated grips, and of course the Clake one light clutch. All my basic mods that I do to pretty much any bike nowadays. But initial impressions, feels very, in a lot of ways, very similar to the old TPI bikes. This thing was definitely too blubbery when I got it. That's why I put the JD tuner on it. Very blubbery, very rich down low. At least it feels rich. Now with the JD tuner, feels actually pretty good. A lot of people complain about the start-stop switch. I'm not sure I'll change it out yet. I am used to hitting the kill switch over here, so having the kill switch here will take some getting used to. But starts up quick. Obviously it's got a fresh battery. My previous bike had 300 hours on it. This thing's got half an hour. So these are really my initial impressions. Yeah, with that GD tuner, much more crisp off the bottom. I don't think it loses any low end, but stock, this thing was just really sputtery, really blubbery. Just felt too rich. So we are fully warmed up. Let's take it for a spin. I've done my best to set the sag on this thing. It does feel stiff. As some of you guys know, I had the XC 2021, well, technically it was a TX, but I had the 21 set up really soft. This one is pretty stiff already. Not in a bad way, but I'm running like 50, a little over 50 millimeters of free sag in order to get to my race sag of about 112, 114. So I like to run a decent amount of sag, but this might need a softer rear spring for me to dial it in just right. I weigh about 148 pounds before gear, and it's a little stiff for me, I think, but we'll see. It might break in. The forks feel really good and controlled. I started with the comfort settings all the way around, and then I took a couple extra clicks of compression out, and then I left the rebound kind of where it is for the comfort settings for the manual, and so far it actually feels really good. Whew, little air. Let's try a little log hop. Ooh, things are frosty. Not bad. Things are so frosty out today. It's maybe 33 today. As you can see, the pond is completely frozen. Very cold. Let's try another little log hop. Caught a nice frosty log. Yeah, it's very controlled. I wish the forks had preload, spring preload adjustment. I would probably take a little preload out of the forks just to let them sit a hair lower. But overall, like, just look at them move. They are very well controlled. I would probably agree with what everybody says. These things feel amazing for a stock fork. Let's try a technical climb here. Woohoo! That was fun. One thing I noticed is the gearing. This is second gear, and the second gear is definitely lower than my old XC. Taller second, taller first. This has got a shorter first and a shorter second than the old XC bikes. Compared to the old XCWs, it's got a taller first, but I actually think second is still shorter than the old XCWs. Let's try this. Let's try this little climb again. I didn't quite nail it the first time. Little button. Woo! Nice. That's why I like that plate on my clutch. Easy one finger clutch all day long. I cannot praise that enough. I'll admit I hopped on the bike with the stock clutch for about 3 minutes. Bone stock tires and everything. Stock tires. Still comes with the AT81 rear, which I hate. Comes with the new Dunlop front, which isn't terrible, I don't think. But went with my favorite tires, DX30 front with a loose tubeless on the back, and I'm currently running the AT81EX dummy on the rear. Yeah, the suspension feels really well controlled. I may not change it at all. Okay. Yeah, as far as the fueling, you guys can hear the fueling with the JD tuner. It feels pretty darn good. It really pulls down low. Let's take this spot here and we can try a little low RPM stuff. Okay, here's second gear, no clutch. Just gotta let it lug and pull itself along, and then just pull out, no clutch, throttle, and it works great. It really lugs down. Oh, we're right at really lugging. Yeah, it pulls itself out with just throttle, which is nice. A little better than my TPI. Not a game changer, but definitely a little better than the TPI was. Quite honestly. I had my TPI flashed by John Ross, and that thing, it's honestly the best running TPI I've ever come across. I don't think anyone's got a better running TPI. But this is, ooh, hit my boot. But this runs really darn well. Again, JD tuner for me is a must-have. Stock, these things are just too rich, too blubbery. They don't seem to run all that well out of the gate, I don't think. Let's wring its neck a little bit. Oh, this is slick. I don't have all my protective gear on. I don't have knee pads on, so I'm trying not to get too crazy, but pretty good. Try a little slow. Very tractable still. I know that they're probably going away from this frame next year, or maybe in 26. The factory editions already have the new cutout in the frame. You can see right here, the new factory bikes have the cutout. All the pros are running the cutout, the new frame already. I imagine we'll get it as consumers, probably in another model year or two, but the complaint was this frame is too stiff. I'm not a good enough rider to tell you one way or the other. The bike definitely feels a bit more stable. Yes. Yeah, it's like being at home. It really does feel like home on this thing. If you're used to the KTM Husky gas lineup, these things aren't going to feel substantially different to you. If you like the TPI, I think you'll like this one a lot. If you didn't like TPI, I think this probably addresses any issues or perceived issues people had with the TPI. And let me clarify just a minute. I didn't have any issues with the TPI once I got it dialed. But before getting it dialed, TPIs could be a little frustrating. They don't seem to run the same, and they seem to need some level of tinkering. The crankcase pressure sensors go out, that kind of stuff. But once I got mine mapped and properly tuned, no other issues. I tried the injector relocation kits, didn't like them, went back to stock, then had the ECU flash by John Ross, and that thing ran great. This also runs great, especially with the JD tuner. It's much more crisp, none of that blubbery stutteriness off idle. and this thing rips. It still rips. Is it more powerful than my TPI? Hard to say. Maybe by hair, yeah, maybe by hair. I like the way this lugs down low better than the TPI though. My TPI would still stall, sometimes a little unexpectedly, even with the flywheel weight. This really lugs down low quite well. Very pleased with how this lugs. It seems to give you a bit more warning before it stalls than the TPI. So overall, pretty happy with it. I'm running it in the green map, as you can see. I haven't tried the white map too much. There's a bit of a difference. It's not huge, but I prefer to get used to the bike in the hot map and just run it that way for the majority of the time. Yeah, pretty good. I'd say it feels pretty darn good. Let's try some more stuff. That was pretty smooth, not too difficult. Oh shit! Ha hit some ice! Holy crap! First crash out of the way. You can see I just skimmed along here. Oh, it's hard as a rock. Definitely icy under there. Well, no worse for wear, but first crash out of the way. Pipe's good, that's the main thing. Pretty easy one in the grand scheme of things. Oh, icy again. Couldn't even get the lift on that. Feel it just kind of lug down right there. My TPI probably would have needed a bit more clutch in that spot. This kind of pulls out smoothly. Nice. Let's see if we can actually hit the slog again. Not bad. I know what you're thinking. I am not going to ride across the frozen pond. Oh yeah, it's fast. Oh god, everything is super slick underneath the leaves. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. There it is, a few mods. This thing's ready to go. I think just waiting on that rear disc guard. We'll get that installed. We'll be ready to hit some good hard trails in the next few weeks. Put this thing to the ultimate test. But initial impressions, definitely very good. It's is it a game changer? I don't know. If you've got a well set up TPI, it's incremental improvements above the TPI bikes that generation. Is it massive improvements? Nah, not really. The engine does fuel better at very low RPMs. It's got a bit more stall resistance. It can climb out of a lug a little bit more easily without as much clutch as the old TPIs. Suspension feels great. Forks really are that much better, for sure. Everything else on the bike, pretty typical KTM brand bike. Pretty solid. I'm sure we'll uncover other things we might want to change as I get more hours on the bike, but for the first half hour of riding, thing is pretty good. Stay tuned for some more videos. We'll talk about some of the other changes they made. I do want to compare the headlight with my moto-minded setup. I'm hoping to find a way to get that mounted up on here soon. That way I can do some night riding. I also have a tire review coming up. Going to be reviewing rear tires. I do still have the AT81EX on here right now. It's been serving me pretty darn well, but I've got to compare that to all the other tires I've run. So we'll do a big tire shootout coming up here pretty quick. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.